Hey all, and welcome back to Fuzzy Ducksy Gaming and the second episode of the SSF Blink Arrow Guardian. Apologies for the delay in the video. I actually made part 2 yesterday after getting the first 2 Void Stones, but realised I totally messed up the build and should have had an extra 25% more damage. In short, my minion accuracy was at 80%, but we'll cover this later in the video. Therefore, I binned that video because I didn't want people copying that tree and setup, and we go again. So in this video, I'm going to go through the skill tree that I settled on, although it's very similar to the planned POE in the last video. I'll go over my gear and skill links and what I settled on in the end. I'll also talk about how the build felt when progressing the Atlas, both pros and cons. In summary though, considering my gear could be a lot better and I'm still on a 5 link and leveling my gems, this build did a great job at clearing the Atlas and getting the first 2 Void Stones. It also felt very safe. I had 10 deaths in total, and 6 of those were on Eater and Exarch because of issues with those bosses that I didn't know about that we'll come onto later. In trade, this build could be even stronger at this stage, as there's some great uniques that don't cost the earth that can push the build's damage a lot higher. So before we jump into the character, I want to talk about the 4 things that I had to fix through my playthrough that I felt didn't feel good enough. Now, I mentioned about minion accuracy in the intro. That is something I thought I would just get from taking the loads needing up to Grave Pact, and I didn't even check it. I just assumed I had a 100% chance to hit. And on Pinnacle bosses, I had 80%. So the first thing I had to do was rejig the tree and take these accuracy nodes here. I've also taken precision and I've leveled that up as high as I can to give my minions some accuracy from that aura. And then I've also taken this mastery to have 250% accuracy. So if we go in and tick precision, we can see that my minion's main hand chance to hit is 98%. So once I get a bit more mana, I'll be able to push it up to 100. Before, I had this tree here, and I didn't have my precision aura, and we can see here that my main hand chance to hit was 81%, and that is a massive, massive damage that we're leaving on the table. So as soon as I got my accuracy up to the 98%, my damage went up a massive chunk. So we can see here, it's 170 with this skill tree. If we go into the default skill tree, it goes up to 212. We then stick precision on and it's 239,000. So I was leaving so much damage left behind because I just didn't think about accuracy. So if you are leveling this sort of build, just keep an eye on POB for your minion accuracy. I don't know if it's something you can see in game. I had to go into POB to do it. I'm not a minion player though. Maybe there is somewhere in game that tells you that. Next thing to look out for is obviously your cooldown. This did feel a little bit janky until I got quality on the gem. And then I got down here and took these nodes here that give you cooldown recovery for movement skills. Now it did feel fine, and with a league start build, when you're progressing through your Atlas on an SSF character, you don't necessarily expect to have everything you're going to have on your character once you've leveled it up. So it's something I'll put up with, but the more cooldown recovery you get, the much better the build feels. The next thing that I totally overlooked was attack speed for me. And that's because that will determine how quickly you do the animation and how quickly you get out of it. And I didn't have any attack speed on my bow, my quiver, or my gloves, and it got me killed a couple of times because I just couldn't blink arrow out of things in time. Eater was a prime example, but we'll come on to him in a separate section. So attack speed and cooldown recovery, really, really important. And then movement speed as well. I've taken movement speed nodes on the tree. I've made sure I've got 30% movement speed on my boots. And before that, when I was leveling, I had 20% movement speed. It didn't feel great. Taking those nodes, the 30%, a Quicksilver, we keep our flasks up. It feels really, really nice. And then the last thing, which I'm still super, super guilty of, is I'm using skills too much and it's slowing down my mapping. So when you are playing this build, you want to have your offering up. And the way I have mine, it lasts 10 seconds. I have a Grace on Divine Blessing, which lasts 18 seconds. And then I have my minion here who lasts about 45 seconds. I am resummoning these way, way too often, and it's making me take an extra 10 to 20 seconds in maps. I need to get better at managing my skills and the distance that they have before they wear off. So Bastion of Hope gives you 25% chance to block attack damage if you've attacked recently, which is 4 seconds, and then spells do the same thing. So I keep my convocation on left click, even though I don't really need this skill anymore. It guarantees that I use a spell every 4 seconds because I have it on my movement button, and obviously I'm always going to be attacking because it's my main skill. This means that with glancing blows, I've always got 50% block chance and 50% spell block, which helps a lot. And then the last thing is getting as much spell suppression as you can. I don't have any on gear, but by taking these nodes here along with the lucky node, this mastery for 15% if you've got evasion on all your gear, along with Mage Bane and reflexes. If we go back into my POB, you can see our chance to suppress spell damage is 89%, which I'm absolutely happy with. So even though we only have Glancing Blows block, 50% of all attacks and spells are going to be blocked. And then we also have 89% chance to suppress spell damage. We've got nearly max chaos res, a decent enough life pool, and then life regen. And even though on paper, this kind of hit doesn't look great, at League Start scenario, it's fine. When you're not adding loads of content and juicing your maps, I've found it absolutely fine. So I will put this POB in the video description for people looking to work their way through. At some point, I will amend my main POB so that that also incorporates the accuracy, because you do need it. I've not used any Wildwood stuff because I want this to be a test for next league. So if you go here, you can see I've basically taken the rucksack and nothing else. So I have unlocked, I believe, the next charm slot, but I don't want to add them in because I want to see what this is like without the specters and without the charms, because that means realistically it will be more powerful next league, because there's bound to be power creep like there is every single league. I'm kind of testing this because I really don't see these skills getting touched. The gem has only just come out last league. It gets 0 playtime at league start, and even as an end build, there's not tons of people playing it. It's not overpowered, it's very nice, but you do have to settle for a little bit of clunkiness early on. You have to concentrate a lot on cooldown recovery, and there's lots you need to do to get the gem to work. It's not like a gem that you just throw on and it works because it's overpowered. You do have to do a few things to get it to feel good, and it's not any better than the meta skills that you would use in the campaign. It's new, and it is quite comfortable and easy to stay alive, which is why I'm going with it at the moment. So let's just quickly go through my Atlas tree, because that would explain kind of how I've come about the gear that I've got. Essentially, I went these 3 essence nodes first, so that I could at least get some screaming essences to craft some gear that was better than my campaign gear. I've then gone and taken the expedition nodes here and here. I did have a little go with extreme archaeology. I didn't like it. It's just too difficult, and you have to ignore a lot of the expeditions because there's just mods that you don't want to take or can't take. I then went up and took buried knowledge, and then went up and took these blocker nodes here. I've then gone and taken all of the essence nodes, and then some map nodes, and then the Exarch nodes to fill out once I'd started completing my Atlas. I didn't really take any map nodes early on because this build feels much better once you get to the late 80s, because that's when you start getting your cooldown and your spell suppression, and you've got a decent amount of mana. You've got Eldritch Battery, so you can use more auras. I didn't want to rush it because I didn't feel this build would feel very good at 80 pushing into red maps. So if I wasn't in any rush to get my maps going, then I had no need to take the map nodes. So the idea is just farm expedition and essences to get some gear, or essences to craft some gear. So the gear we've settled on, I had a Fractured Ivory Bow drop, which is super lucky because this is the exact base that I wanted, because it's got a lower dex requirement than a spine bow, and it's got Fractured T3 Fire. I've not used many essences on it. I just used Shrieking Essences of Hatred, and I hit crit chance and crit multi, so I crafted attack speed, and then I Exalt Slammed, and unfortunately got 3 to 47 lightning damage, but it's better than nothing. This is probably representative of what sort of bow you'd have in trade once you've cleared your Atlas. It's going to be probably a divine or two, but it's nothing special because the elemental damage on it is not particularly high. In terms of the quiver, this again was essence crafted. I've just basically been spamming any essences I get that give me crit multi on bows, any of the flat damages or damage to bows. Settled on this in the end. I would like this to be a broadhead arrow quiver because I still want more attack speed. The helmet is just life and resistances, nothing special. The ring is very low life, but it gave me big strength, big chaos res, and an open suffix to craft more resistances. And as you can see, my life pool is acceptable at 4,800, and that will just go up as I get my gear better. The other ring is just life, some stats, and resistances. Again, nothing special. The body armor is a 5-link that I picked up, and then I crafted it with essences. I think I used intelligence essence on this one. I was basically just spamming any essences that I had. I ended up hitting this, which is great. It's got resistances, intelligence, doesn't have life, so I can use the 15% mastery. I haven't had many Eldritch currencies, so basically what I've spammed here is what I've got. I did have quite a few grand embers from an altar, and that's basically all I had, so I thought I might as well use them. That's why the Golem buff is grand. I don't necessarily think this is a very good mod, but I don't have the currency to roll over it. It just gives me a bit more life regen. And we go on to the gloves. I crafted these with Fear Essences because it gives you minion damage. I just spammed it until it's something half decent and crafted life. I've gone for attack speed as the implicit for Exarch, and then the other implicit I've run out of currency. The bleed one does absolutely nothing. The boots are movement speed, little bit of life, resistances, and then I managed to roll brittle ground, so we've kept that because that'll add some decent damage. And then cooldown recovery of travel skills is very important. So all of my Ether currency went on these before I moved on to my other items. At the belt, needs replacing with either a Stygian or a Darkness Enthroned, but I don't have either yet. This is just life, attributes, resistances, and a bit of armor. The flask I've settled on, gone for a granite flask. Quartz flask because phasing is massively important when you're mapping. You don't want to get stuck in a pack because you do have a cooldown on your movement skill. You do have the option of using a flame dash as a secondary movement skill, but I use all of my gem sockets, so that isn't really an option for me. We've got a couple of jewels that I've managed to craft. I actually had a fractured minion damage if you've dealt a minion skill recently, which is pretty nice, but I haven't really had any currency to craft these, so this is how it dropped, so I've kept it. And this one again drops with a bit of damage, life, and cold resistance, so I've just stuck them into the build because for 1 point, they're probably better than 1 point I can get anywhere on the tree. When I get my next level, I'll go to this jewel socket and just drop this life and mana node here. I won't go through the skill tree too much. It will be in the POE description, but all of the masteries I'll go through because they're pretty important. So you've got Penetrate, Elemental Resistances to Cursed Enemies. This is probably 6 to 7% more damage, if not more. Offerings have Increased Effect. This is 5 to 6% more damage. You've got Flat 50 life just for your life pool. We've got the accuracy to make sure we're getting as close to 100% as possible. We have 10% more skill effect duration here. Probably the most important one, Blink Arrow and Mirror Arrow have 100% cooldown recovery rate. Chance to suppress spell damage is lucky, and then chance to suppress spell damage if you've got evasion on all of your gear. I have had a high item level 8 passive minion cluster jewel drop, but I'd have to craft this to be really good to make it worthwhile. Dropping any other nodes and pathing up here to get the cluster jewel, it'd have to be insane to actually be more damage. If it had some really good minion jewels to slot into it, might be worth going up there, but at the moment I don't. In terms of Ascendancy, it was Radiant Crusade, Unwavering Crusade, Bastion of Hope. It was a choice for the last one between Radiant, Faith, and Time of Need. Time of Need is really good. I don't need the ailment though, because I'm ailment immune. Regen 100% alive over 1 second is obviously pretty situational. This gave me more. The armor is negligible, but the energy shield is actually quite a lot. What this means is, because I've actually got a ton of energy shield, I've got like nearly 1100. If I decided I didn't want to run a body armor with energy shield on it, I can still fit a blessing aura into here. I may have to lower the gem a little bit, but I'll still be comfortable with an ES pool of say 5 to 600. The other option for uniques if I went into Heist is Replica Stampedes. They give you a ton of damage if you slot your movement skill into here in a 4-link. It gives you about the damage of a decent 6-link, but what it means is your movement speed is set to 150% of base, and you can't get that quicker through things like Flasks, Onslaught, or Haste. And then the last unique I'd really like is Darkness Enthroned. It comes with 2 abyssal sockets, and it gives you increased percentage of effect of those jewels. Obviously, not much fun at the moment because we don't have the jewels to go in it, but this can be an absolutely huge boost to your damage. But at the moment, on just rare gear, it's performing absolutely fine. I think I will need to up the build a little bit to do Uberelder and Maven. But I've done my first 10-way. I'm comfortably mapping in T16 and rarely dying. So as it is, I don't really need to improve the build. We'll just go and get my map pool up, and then we'll start target farming individual bits for the build, which will come in the next episode. So we'll just quickly run through the skill links. So I'm on a 5-link at the moment, and I've gone for Blink Arrow of Bombarding Clones, Fresh Meat, Minion Damage, LE Damage with Attacks, and Conk Effect. If you had a 6th, you've got lots of options. You could add something like an added Cold or an added Lightning. You could add Volatility Support. There's probably other gems you can add. There's plenty of options for the 6th link. It would depend on the kind of chest that you're running. I don't have it at the moment, so I don't have to worry about it. I have a 4-link Mirror Arrow setup, which is Mirror Arrow, Added Cold, Fresh Meat, and Minion Damage. In a bow, we've got LE Weakness to curse enemies, Precision to give my minions the accuracy they need, got Grace linked to Divine Blessing. We have a Determination, we've got a Stone Golem linked to Feeding Frenzy, and then Desecrate to summon corpses. And then in the helmet, we've got a Convocation, which you put on left click. Got Spirit Offering, and then Purity of Elements and Vitality. And that's the links I've gone with. There's lots of different options you can build this sort of character. You could not bother with a mirror arrow setup and maybe go Spectres or an Animate Guardian, but I'm not really at the level to make sure I can keep those alive. So I think for me in SSF, this option works the best, but it's something we'll explore in later episodes. So in a moment, we'll jump into a map showcase. I just wanted to quickly touch on the Eater and the Exarch fights because there are mechanics in those fights that I was not aware were a thing. I'll just quickly go over them now because we don't spend too much time on them. But the pools that Exarch leaves on the ground, the burning sigils or whatever you want to call them, they actually give you 50% reduced cooldown recovery of your movement skills. So it was taking twice as long for my skill to come off cooldown. If I'd have known that, it wouldn't have bothered me that much, but I kept thinking there was something broken with the fight or broken with my build. So I was permanently turning auras on and off and tinkering with things within the fight. And it got me killed a few times until I actually Googled what it did. And it does reduce your recovery. And then for Eater, this is probably my fault because I just didn't have good movement speed and good attack speed. It was very difficult to get out of the darkness balls if I ended up in them. And they are responsible for 6 of my 10 deaths so far on this character. So how the build feels is obviously subjective. I really like it, but I think a lot of people are going to feel that it's too clunky and maybe not as smooth as other league starters. But in terms of damage and staying safe on bosses, I think it packs a punch, especially on a 5-link. So we'll just go and run a standard map that I've just pulled out my stash. There's nothing particularly difficult on it. It's got monsters can suppress spell damage, which does nothing. Area inhabited by animals, so what? 2 rogue exiles and steel charges, and we don't have any. In fact, I would say I'd re-roll it because it's too easy, but I'm pretty sure on currency. No, we re-roll it. That is too easy. So this one's a bit better. Beyond, boss has attack speed, damage, temp chains, which is going to feel awful, and then increased monster variety. So we'll go in and we'll do this. As I mentioned, I have Essence on my tree and I have Expedition. If we get them, we will do them just to show you what it's like. And then you can just judge for yourself whether you like the look of the build or not. Remember, I overspam my skills, so it could probably be a bit cleaner once I get a bit more used to it. So we'll summon the Sentinel, we'll just get our Flesh Offering up, and then we will, or Spirit Offering, and then we'll run our Grace. Might as well go and do the Deli Mirror. So it is just a case of blinking around with Blink Arrow. You can also use your Mirror Arrow as well, just for a little bit more single target. So I'll probably wait for the deli to run out before we go and do anything with the Expedition. Go and get that map. We'll go in and kill the boss quickly, or try. I haven't done Delirium bosses yet. So the one issue you do have, because I don't have a way to target the boss, because I don't have Signal Prey or whatever it's called now, Predator Support. So if you do get lots of enemies in there, you can end up being a little bit slow on the DPS because they target other enemies instead. So we'll try and get these deli rewards up to 4, so we at least got a chance for deli orbs. So temp chains, the build feels bad. It definitely doesn't feel great with temp chains. We have an Abyss as well, which we would like to do, because if it leads to Aspire, that's our Stygian Vi, so we'll run over that. Just check my Golem's still up. He is, because he dies quite a lot. Get out of the way of that. Okay, so we've got our 4 layers of Delirium wards anyway, which is nice. Another fortunate card. The Abyss is running the wrong way. We summon our Sentinel. Oh, this Abyss is taking me a long way around. In fact, I'll probably stop the deli when we get a sec, because I don't really need anything from it. 4 rewards is plenty. Another map. Golem's still alive, so is a Sentinel. Put our Grace back on. Beyond monsters are absolutely kicking my ass. Nope, just an Abyssal Trove. We've got a Jewel. Let's pray that it's good. It's got accuracy. That's not terrible. So we'll take these rewards. And then I think we'll just do the Expedition. Actually, let's do an Essence Monster as well. So with essences, you can sort of get your skills up and running and ready to go. And then you can just try and stay away from the essence monsters, let your clones do their thing. Obviously, I wouldn't necessarily recommend farming essences in T16s because they're pretty slow, but we'll pick our map up. And then we'll quickly go and do that expedition, and then we will close the video out. What was that down there? Did I just see another fortunate card? Or is that the same one that I decided I didn't want to pick up? Nope, that is the one I didn't pick up. So, let's see what we've got here. And the good thing is, your minions kind of do their thing while you're checking out the different mods. So that could kill me, but we'll do it anyway because it's quite a nice reward. I'm just checking there isn't any massive things we need to get. There are lots of extra item things going on here. So let's try and get all these in one. We may take on too much, but if we do, we do. And we want to come and get all these ones up here. If we can get here, we can. Then I kind of want to look for chests and big skulls. So there's some there. See if we can find any coloured chests. I don't think there better be some. Better not shortchange me. Have we already got the yellow chest? I think we do. Go there just in case. I can't tell. Yeah, this is a pretty bad one. We're going to be able to cover this whole thing. I've already gone here, haven't I? No, I haven't. Okay. And then we'll just randomly go up here, avoiding the hits can't be evaded. Because oh, we're done anyway. Okay. Oh. Avoid that death pool there. So I'm just going to try and curse everything I can because it's quite a lot more DPS. Just make sure my skills are up. Over spamming them as usual. Would have been nicer if they were 6 linked. 1 exotic coin, is that it? What is this thing here? I'm trying to keep look at it. I think he might have been one of the rarer mods, but he didn't drop anything. We'll pick up whatever here, but I'll come back and get these after the video because I do need some of the jeweler's orbs. So I think that's it for the video. It's kind of performing okay. Like, obviously it doesn't look amazing because there's a red chest there. How dare you? I'm so blind. Because this is on a 5 link and the gear isn't amazing, but it's something I can definitely progress with, and it handles the content that I want to do. Sorry for the waffly showcase. That's it for the video. Part 3 will hopefully be gearing up for Uber Elder and Maven. Thank you very much for watching. Take care and see you in the next one.